Good afternoon, followers of African Americans Ain't African. Welcome to African Americans Ain't African. We're the only talk show that proves that without a shadow of a doubt that the African American didn't come to America in the bottom of a ship. I'm your host, Buck Wylam. And today I just want to go over a little information. We're going to do the slave ship myth either today or tomorrow. But I just wanted to share some information that I just picked up and I think is very, very, very important to this indigenous community in America, because the reality of how things go, we're we when it comes to information, we're not prepared. Excuse me one second. When it comes to information, we're not prepared at all, and we always get the information 2, 3, 4 years after the information is presented. And this is some information for what's coming in how we communicate in daily life. This has to do with that. So I just wanted the African American Ain't African community to be aware of this, um, so that you'll know how to prepare yourself. And it has to do with 5G. Um, and one of the things we like about 5G is that it's faster. That's the same thing they said about 4G. It's the same thing they said about 3G. And all it is doing is using us to help build what's coming. And what's built and what they're building is to destroy us. Here's an example. 5G is going to another stratosphere. It's going to a giga. They're going to start, hooking your phones up to this gigabytes, this 5G gigabytes, your cell phones, everything. And the 5G is a kill grid. It wipes out a lot of people. And if people are listening now, you will know that a lot of people are dropping dead. I mean, especially indigenous community, where the indigenous community used to live to be 100, 110, 120 years old. Now we're dropping at rates at 45 years old from heart attacks. And the reason this is going on is because of what's being set up in our communities, and we don't even know about it. We really don't even know about it. A few of us do, but as usual, those people are normally ignored and cast aside. But the 5G that is coming is not good for the planet at all. The Wi-Fi system in your home operates on 2.4 gigahertz, which means the electromagnetic field is oscillating at 2.5 billion times a second. Imagine that. The magnetic field is oscillating at 2.5 billion times a second. Now, one of the things that in the African American community, what we do, how we're trained to learn, we're trained to listen to how a person sounds. We won't really pay attention to what they say because we're not trained that way. We're trained to listen to how a person sounds. So that's why many of us are still in the church. How the minister sounds is what most people who go to church, that's what they're attracted to. It's not what he says. Because if you were going to church off what the person says, your first or second time in church, you should have told your mama you don't want to go no more. So they use the music and the pastor doing his hooping and hollering. That's what gets the majority of people called African American. So it's important, as grandmothers, as grandfathers, as uncles, as aunts, to get information and pass it on to the children, your sister's kids, your brother's kids, your cousins, nieces. It's important to pass on this information because we've been out here a long time. People been giving information a long time. And it seems like the African American community is succumbing faster than ever off of things that we should have protected ourselves against years ago, but we don't do it. So I'm imploring you to listen to what I say. Go research it. Don't believe my word, or go ask a European person, or go ask a foreigner, because the African American normally believes what they say. That's just how we're trained. It's nothing against anybody. That's just how we're trained. So I was saying the Wi-Fi systems in your home operates at like 2.5 gigahertz, which means the electromagnetic field is oscillating at 2.5 billion times a second. The frequency in which water molecules in your body begin to boil. Not begin to boil, begin their rotation on its axis so as to keep up with the field of oscillation. I'm gonna say that again because I want you to I want you to get this, and I want you to take it and play with it and dissect it and listen to what is said. The Wi-Fi system in your home operates at 2.4 gigahertz, which means the electromagnetic field is oscillating at 2.5 billion times a second. The frequency in which water molecules in your body begin their rotation on its axis so as to keep up with the field oscillation. The water molecules in your body speeds up to keep up with the electromagnetic field that's going on in your house. And the Wi-Fi system is, we got it wireless. It's coming through the doors, windows, outside, everything. Is speeding up the water molecules in our body. What does that mean to us on the whole, on the bigger picture? If the water molecule is speeding up, what is that doing? These are the realities we're going to have to come in contact with. You wonder why you people are losing it just like that? You wondering why people are breaking down just like that? You wondering why Alzheimer's is just like that? Is because our environment is being weaponized. And you can tell when you look up at the chemtrails. See, the chemtrails, that information has been out for at least 20 years. The majority of people still don't know about it. I'm talking about the majority of people. I'm not saying people in the group, or people who think, or people who look ahead, or people who have intelligent conversations with each other. A magnetic field oscillating at 2.5 billion times a second. That's a weaponized frequency. And if you're seeing all the towers going up, the 5G towers, I would implore you to look it up. Look up the city hall meetings. Look at what people are saying in the city hall meetings. Look at what people are saying. Look at where these towers are going. And why are they going there if the magnetic field on these machines are oscillating at 2.5 billion times a second? What is that doing to the community? They're making kill grids. And this is something that we're going to have to be aware of so we can protect ourselves against it. Now, one of the things that protects against it, as you all know, is nature, trees. So those of you who could get where a lot of trees are, live in a lot of trees, I would suggest you do so. The trees and a lot of a lot of a lot of natural thing blocks these signals. These waves, they don't travel very far. They work better in high density areas like these cities, like the concrete all over the place. So if you notice in all the cities, the trees are disappearing. Matter of fact, most cities don't have no trees. You don't see New York City with trees. You don't see Los Angeles with trees. Those trees that they show, those palm trees, those are fake. Most big cities don't have a lot of trees. They have concrete. That's what can move the, I mean, I'm not saying they move the waves, but these waves, electromagnetic waves, and these systems move well through these because they don't have any interference. There's no trees to block it. There's nothing natural to block it. This is why I'm passing on the information to the people in African American and African. Also, if you notice in these cities, they're killing trees. They're killing trees. They're killing trees. Think about that. So just imagine in one city, you don't have any oxygen. I mean, it can be for an hour. Nobody will survive. When you start messing up with the mechanisms of Mother Nature, you don't know what you're doing. Especially these people that are trying to control the planet and to kill a whole bunch of people out. And one of the ways they can kill a whole bunch of people out is if we're not aware, if we're always stuck on stupid shit. One of the ways that they're getting rid of people is burning them off the land with a lot of these uh, man-made disasters, fires, hurricanes, you name it. You know, down here in the South, many people, when it rains, are scared to go outside. Why is that? They feel like something is going to happen in the rain. Has something happened before? A huge calamity that went down in the rain that makes the people not, fearful of the rain? The powers that be, they know. We don't know almost anything. They know we don't know. They can tell us anything and we'll believe it. We'll believe it. They can tell us anything because we don't have communications where it would make sense. Everything is always an argument. Always an argument. They tell us anything because they know that the majority of people who call themselves African American are, they snap their fingers, will come running. Whatever they say, we'll do. It's the majority of us. It is the duty of all indigenous men to protect his homeland. It is the duty of all indigenous men to protect his homeland. If you look at nature, and nature is where we learn from. So all of you who say, yeah, there's things in books that we can reference to make sense out of what's going on in this matrix that we live in. But if you really want to learn, just look to nature. Nature's been here longer than anybody. It's going to be here longer than after everybody leaves. Nature teaches us everything. The so-called African American has been disconnected from that. Many of them fear to go into it. They want to stay around that concrete, those fluorescent lights in those buildings, those oscillating waves that are sent through the TV, through the radio. That's where we learn from, and you see what it's doing to us. If you look at something in nature, let's say the carpenter bee. I'm having a carpenter bee problem now. The carpenter bee's job is to protect the whole where the next generation is to be born. Wouldn't that make sense for the indigenous men of America to do that? No. No, the majority of men take on the reality of his boss. We try to destroy it. We're into destroying nature just as much as they are, aren't we? Yeah. The job of the males is to protect his home. How many Superfund sites do they have across America? What are your elected officials? Not them. It's not the elected official. It's you. What are you doing? This is the males and the females. What are you doing to make sure that your land isn't demolished? This is why the ignorance plays big in the so-called black community, because deep down inside we know it. Deep down inside we know they spill oil off your coast every day. What do we do about it? What we do about it is we don't want to find out what's going on. We want to stay into the TV, into the movies, and all this other dumb shit that's fed to us because we know. So here's an example. What if everybody in the world had to go back to their original habitat? What if everybody in the world had to go home? What kind of place would the people be leaving the indigenous people here? Everybody had to go back home. These people bury anything up under your ground so nothing will ever grow there because they think Earth is infinite. This is what you're doing to your homeland. And this is why African Americans, they know. They all know. That's why they argue with you, because they don't want you to find out. They don't want you to expose that they're lying to you. They know. That's why you have all your teachers coming out, your professors coming out saying, well, yeah, my grandmama, she was this. Yeah, they know. But they've been going along with the rules so they can get some paper. This is what the African American does. This is your land that everybody shits on, and you stand by and wait for somebody to pat you on the head. That's what the African American does. Now, I know you mad. Be mad. This is what we're going to leave for our children and grandchildren. And we're arrogant about it too. We're proud of it, aren't we? When you observe tigers have a 150-mile radius. where they live, where they hunt, and where they do their thing. Nobody can really come mess with a tiger cub because the tiger protects his home front as a part of the earth, as something that was created by nature. Isn't that your job to protect? And we can keep saying, I I didn't know. Nobody told me. It's your duty when you know something is wrong. If a baby comes out the womb crying because he knows something's wrong, it's your duty as you grow older to figure out what's going on so you can help fix it. That's all of our jobs. That's all of our jobs. The tiger protects the home front. These 5Gs, these 5G missions don't travel very far, nor do they penetrate. There's things that you can do to protect your home. You can put up, uh, they have windows, aluminum windows. Slows down or thwarts the emission of 5G into your home. So aluminum windows, I would check that out. There's things that you can do when these new, how they come out with something new. Just say no. Because they're trying to roll out a new, how you know how they do it every year, every 2 years. They roll out something new, and we think something new is always better. It's not always like that. It's not always like that. They're always trying to sell you a miracle. They're always trying to sell you the new thing. They're always trying to sell you the new tennis shoe when they're all the same. That's how they got us. We won't invent nothing new. But if somebody come up with a new way to open a bag of potato chips, we own it. They'll make $1 billion off of us in a day. Well, how is that possible? How do we let that happen? How do we pretend? How do we walk around here pretending that we're some of the dumbest people in the world? How don't we never do anything about it? How come we not teaching our children, passing it down to them? Why isn't, with all these education we have, with all these teachers, how come we don't have our own education system? Everybody else does. The public schools, you see, they're trying to close them down with all the public shootings going on in these schools. So if the public school system closed down, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about it? You got all these teachers, you got all these principals, you got all these administrative people. What are we going to do to make sure our children have the proper information? I mean, don't you ask your congressmen and all the people you vote into office? Didn't you ask Barack Obama? All this stuff happening to us, and there's rarely a peep out of us as a whole. You have to protect your bodies. Seriously, you better get into a new way of eating because and you know, you better get into a new way of eating because what they serving you is not food. What they're serving you is not food, and you should understand that. Anytime you walk into a different restaurant, people are coming from different parts of the world. People in China, they don't eat what we eat over here. They don't have deer running around in China. They don't have buffalo running around in China. What are we being served up? And is this making a lot of us sick? What are we drinking? I'm talking about, we anything that's in an aluminum can, we'll drink it. And that's another thing. Stop drinking out of them cans. You putting all this aluminum in your body. That's not where aluminum goes. Aluminum goes. Aluminum can. Do you realize that every time you run your finger over aluminum, some of it rubs off? I mean, you do know that, right? What do you think happens when acid is sitting in an aluminum can and you pop it open and drink it? What do you think? Where do you think all that residue aluminum is going? Ask yourself. These are questions you should be asking yourself, because the average person, especially the average African American, you tell them something that's reality, they'll look at you like you crazy. They want to be lied to. They want to be tricked. They don't feel right if they're not tricked. They're used to being made a fool out of. So if you try to tell them that, they'll look at you like you crazy. They like it. They like being used. So there's a new a video out saying about the chicken McNuggets. They got those Morgellons in it. If you don't know what Morgellons is, look it up. Morgellons. Should any of us be going to places like that to get chicken McNuggets? No. With all these genius blacks, with all these, what I read, some kid had a IQ higher than Einstein and Bill Gates or something like that. What does that mean? What is that posted for? Why do we think that we have to measure up to white people? And they have shown that they have no respect for you or me or the planet, yet you still try to shove your head up their ass as far as it'll go. What is that? That's people who aren't learning. And by the time you 10 years old, you know something wrong. You just ignore it, which makes you ignorant, and you go on living your life as an adult. This is what's happening. This is what we are passing down to our children. And these are people, uh, who are running governments, who are running cities. The reality of it is that the average African American doesn't even know what thinking is, because they don't do it. That you're seeing what's going on in your community. You're seeing that your women are at a disadvantage. You're seeing all this, and the males are acting like this. You don't, so since you can't get a grip on it, since you don't understand it, since you don't think that you're a part of this planet, because your job is to help keep this earth in its orbital balance, since you are not a part of nature, you go do whatever. You won't know. And then when something happens, no, I got nobody told me. You're connected to this planet like we are. You connected to this planet like every species on it. So you don't look at it and see it's something wrong and feel like you have to do something to help it out. No, the African American male doesn't do that. The African American male will go around and steal money from his people, not give them anything in return, teaches people to be dumb for a check, lie, throw plastic in the ocean, throw plastic on the ground. Make sure that as a group of people, we don't climb no further than we are. Make sure as a people that we don't think about bringing justice on this planet. That's the job. That's what the African American was created for. Protect your body. Put the right things in it. I would say and start getting your food wild. I mean, that's turkeys, deer. If you're going to eat, do meat. If you're going to do some plants, grow you some plants. Grow something. Cultivate nature. Help bring it along. Learn something. You will learn something. You have information that's in front of you all day long. It's no excuse. You have a cat, George Washington Carver, that studied plants. Sit and watch a plant grow. You don't have nothing else to do. Sit and watch a plant grow. Sit and watch what bees do. Sit and watch what ants do. You will learn a lot. You will probably learn if you sit and watch what a bee does. You'll probably learn more in that afternoon than you did your whole 12 years in high school. Study nature. Study nature. Keep an eye out on the sky too. Look in the skies too, because the chemtrails they're spraying, they've gotten it down to a pat where the chemtrails, how they spread out and cover the sky. Uh, that's to help the 5G along too. Protect your bodies. The soul stealers. The soul stealers are here to make you sick, weak, lazy, stupid, and corrupt. To make you soul stealers too. Like I said, eat living things. If you plant some, something good too. Tomatoes. Eat them like apples. All of the food and all of the things that we drink out of aluminum cans, all of the stuff that we're eating, it builds up into our body as we get older. That's why you see people having strokes, people getting Alzheimer's, people can't think, people forget, people don't know anything. It's because what we make part of our body slows us down. Eat living things. The microwave emissions, like I said earlier, coming into your home, protect your home, aluminum windows. That's what I suggest. Now, everything I say is not, you don't have to follow it because I know most people, that nigga just talking crazy. No, just passing on information. If you can use it, you can use it. If you can't, don't keep doing what you're doing. I'm just here to share. You can find also, so I'm just throwing this out here. You're in the information age. If I say aluminum windows, I'm sure there's other things that you can do to protect your house, but that's what I know. You go find out and you tell somebody. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. But if we share information with each other, man, we'll be a lot further along if we shared information. Try that sometime. Try sharing information. It's another brother I want to bring up, and I would suggest that you guys check him out. He has a lot of good information. Common sense kind of guy. Neely Fuller. Neely, Neely Fuller, Fuller Jr. Check this cat out. He talks about producing justice on the planet, and he tells you how to do it. Our bodies are electrochemical. Our bodies are electrochemical. Our bodies are electrochemical. That means we have an electrical charge running through it, but it's also made up chemically of different chemical compounds. I'll say that. When that chemical compound gets offset by other chemicals, so when you get some food or you drink something, look and see what chemicals those are that you are putting into your body to mess up the other chemicals that naturally supposed to be in your body. It's just that simple. Are we supposed to be ingesting sugar like we are now? All of them, no. So electrochemical in our bodies. Also the electrical chemical too. The electrical part of it is the, you have to go outside and get some sunlight. Take the sunglasses off. You ever see pictures of indigenous people with glasses on, sunglasses on? That's one of the first things that makes us dimwits. Why? Because you pick up the sun through your eyes. Your eyes is one of the first organs connected to your brain. It lights up your brain. We wear sunglasses at night. Vitamin D is produced through your eyes. I know we take supplements now because we long vitamin D, because we don't get outside, because we watching the TV screen and we watching the computer screen. Get out and get some sunlight. Look into the sun. Look into the sun. Don't blind yourself, but look into it. It's a lot different than you've been told it is. Look at it. Take those sunglasses off. Don't blind yourself. You need to be outside walking around. That's how you used to be. Need to be breathing some fresh air, drinking running water. So the system that the soul stealers are setting up is to do just that. Take your soul from you. Because the indigenous community in America is not using theirs. The majority of people are. So I would say about, say if it's 100 million of us, say about 3%. The microwave emissions level are a trillion times higher than when our parents were coming up. So just imagine uh, 1900s, the 1900s. What were the microwave emissions coming out of the cities? Think about it. What was the microwave emissions coming out of these cities in 1900 compared to now? What are we getting now that our parents weren't getting? And we think we're better off. What how is the food different now compared to what your mother came up on or your grandmother or grandfather came up on? How is the food different? How are the cows different? Are the cows eating GMO food? Were they eating GMO food 100 years ago? There's a technology that's hitting soon called Y-Gig. There's a technology that is soon about to hit the market called Y-Gig. It's not here yet, but it's coming. Do your research on YGIG. See, what a lot of us always want people to tell them everything. Some of these things you have to get your hands dirty on. YGIG is coming. Do not accept it. Probably the what you have now or what you've been having before. You can still hook up. You don't have to have Wi-Fi. You can hook up, to wires. But these microwave emissions is not good for the body for us. 60 gigahertz is the oxygen molecule frequency. It's the frequency that absorbs. I'm sorry. 60 gigahertz is the oxygen molecule frequency. It's the frequency that the molecule absorbs the frequency. When oxygen is hit with this frequency, oxygen molecules have an electron that they share with each other. Oxygen is a diatomic molecule. That means that two atoms make up a magnetic compound in the blood cells. Hemoglobin is a ferromagnetic compound. So since the oxygen molecule is diatomic, which means it has two atomic compounds, the frequencies that are coming into contact, that are coming through the windows, that are coming through when you walk down the street, when you see these cell towers come in contact with the oxygen molecule and kills it. When that oxygen hits your blood, it's going to be tampered with. And it's not going to be the oxygen that your blood needs to move forward. That's why this is why everybody says this 5G is dangerous. It's very important that we know this. When you interfere with the oxygen molecule, you interfere with the gaseous exchange in the lungs. So I hope I'm explaining this. Simply, these 5Gs, these microwaves are coming into contact in there. You see the chemtrails. It's like a blanket over the sky. When these microwaves are bouncing all over the place, it messes with the oxygen level that we're breathing. When we breathe this oxygen, if the atoms are not correct to connect with our bloodstream, connect with our the ferromagnetic bloodstream, it's going to make us sick. This is you look this stuff up. I'm just passing on information. If you have kids 5 years old, 6 years old, this is the kind of stuff that I would be sharing with them, because they have the answers to it, because they'll look at it. They're not corrupted like we are. They'll look at it and they'll come up with a way to fix it, to solve the problem. Well, we just slough it off. So this is what is meant by kill zones. This is what I meant with people. I went to my old neighborhood yesterday, and the guy who was the driver that go pick up cars, when they run out of gas on the freeway or have accidents, this cat was in his 30s. He died of pneumonia this past Christmas. This is not a joke. Many of you will take it as it is. I know it's Friday night, club night. You have more important things to do. But this 5G, all these new technologies, and this is why it's important for indigenous people to start conversing with each other. not on who got the biggest nuts or who know more than anybody else. That don't matter because we still in the same boat. The purpose of African Americans ain't African is one thing only: to let the people know who call themselves black, who call themselves African, who call themselves colored, Negro. You're none of that. Your people didn't call themselves that. It's your job to find out what your people called themselves. Find out what your people did, and you start doing the exact same thing. That's what's up. You're not getting nowhere in nobody else's system. You're going nowhere helping other people build up their empire on your land. That doesn't help us at all. No, you might think it does, but it don't. So that's my get on the 4G. Check it out. Do your homework on the 4G. Find out what it is. Get with other people. Talk about it. Get the information out. Share the information out. Start really changing your lifestyle. I mean, really, Trump is making policy for you, and you don't think that's a problem? Those of you who think it's a problem, you know what to do. I'm out.